Hello everyone, my name is Colin. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to see you guys again. This week, the big news is about how Jayden achieved 88% sales over the launch weekend, which was just a few days ago. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what I feel about this result. Now, if this is the first time you're watching me on my YouTube channel, thank you very much. This is a platform where I share very honest and unbiased opinion of my views of the property market. So if you feel that what I share is actually beneficial to you, and of course all the home buyers and investors out there, do share, do like, do subscribe to my channel. Now, without further ado, let's dive in. So earlier this week, a lot of publications, in fact the major publications reported Jayden achieved 88% sales at an average price of $2,451 per square foot. So this was the report by AgeProp, and this was by Business Times, and this was by Straits Times. All right. So you can see that during the launch weekend, there were a huge amount of people turning up for the balloting, which happened on the 11th of November. So this reminds me of, back in the good old days, like this newspaper report back in 2014. This was one of the launches, I can't remember which one, and you can see similar situation where there's a huge turnout of crowd going for the balloting. So the same thing happened last weekend at Jayden. All right, now 88%. Is this an impressive number? I would say definitely, right? Definitely an impressive number. If we were to look back in history, the last three years, right? What other similar launches achieved such results? Okay, so the last one which achieved more than 88% was actually last July by Amor Residences in Ang Mo Kio. It achieved a sale of 98% on launch weekend. That was July 2022. And before Amor, the other one which received very good result was actually Pasir Ris 8. Pasir Ris 8 was a year earlier in July 2021, right? Achieving a result of 85% sold on launch day. And before Pasir Ris 8, were there any more? Yes, there was one. Okay, the Link at Beauty World achieving 96% sold on launch day, and that happened on November 2020. Right, so these are some of the better performing projects sold during the last 3 years. Right now, but if we put aside the percentage, let's look at the absolute number. 323 units sold for Jayden over last weekend, over the launch weekend. 300 over units. Is this an impressive number? I wouldn't say it is an impressive number. Okay, why? Because if you just look at this year, all right, Grand Diamond achieved 550 units sold, the Reserve Residences 520 units, and even Tembusu Grand 340 units. Right, but of course these three projects, they have more units, so that's why, in terms of the percentage, they are not as high as 88%. All right, now in this video, I really want to answer the question of, is Jayden really worth the hype? All right, is Jayden really the next pot of gold for investors, or just another overhyped property which may or may not perform, right, as expected? Okay, so this is the big question I want to answer. I know that the sale has already taken place and 88% of the units have been sold, but this is something which I like to do because we shouldn't just be focusing on the new upcoming launches that's coming along the way, but sometimes we should retrospectively look back into history to understand a bit about what has happened and how it can actually help us to make a better judgment moving forward. So, of course, to answer this question about, is Jayden really worth the hype? Is Jayden really a good investment? At this point in time, there's really no good way to say yes or no unless we have a crystal ball. But I would like to share with you, some logical reasonings which myself have put together, right, in terms of trying to make sense of what happened for this result, 88%, right, so that I can at least share with you my opinion of what I feel, okay, whether Jayden is going to be, a good investment or turn out to be another probably, so-so or average project. Now, there are three things which I want to mention in this video. Three main arguments I want to put forth, right? Now, the first thing is about the URA Masterplan, all right? Now, I'm aware that, of course, the Jurong Lake District is undergoing a massive transformation. In fact, in my last video, which you can hear, you can watch from this link somewhere up there, all right? Back in 2008, the government actually was the first time government mentioned that the whole Jurong Lake area is going to be transformed into the second CBD, right? That happened in 2008, okay? So today we are like 15 years down the road, okay? And what has happened during these 15 years? Of course, we see more shopping centers like Westgate, Gem and J-Cube. Of course, now J-Cube is gone. And of course, we've got hospital, we've got offices, hotels coming up around the Jurong Lake area. But of course, it is just probably the beginning. And there's still a huge swath of land which is going to be redeveloped, in the next probably, I don't know, 20, 30, or even 50 years, all right? So, of course, if you look at the master plan, there are a lot of empty plots of land, or what we call white sites, that can potentially be developed into, residential housing or even hotels or commercial or whatever. So the question here is really, if someone buys into Jayden now, what is the outlook for capital appreciation in the next probably like let's say 5 to 7 years? Okay, I suppose an investor do not want to wait like 10 years, 15 years to see capital appreciation. So let's put that as maybe the next 5 to 7 years. Okay, I think which is a reasonable timeline for an investment, right? Now, before I answer this question about JLD, Jurong Lake District, let me just share with you another area which also have a lot of white sites, and that is the Marina Bay area. So if you can see from this map here, we have got plenty of yellow sites and white sites. Okay, yellow sites, of course, they basically means that they are reserved for future planning. Okay, white sites are, we know that they can be developed into either hotel, commercial, retail, residential, a mixture of this. So in the Marina Bay area, we also have a lot of white sites, similar to what we see in JLD, Jurong Lake District. Now, what is the performance of the properties, especially residential properties in Marina Bay area? The last new launch that took place was actually Marina One Residences. And of course, the history of Marina One Residences was a joint venture between Singapore Temasek Holdings and Malaysia Khazanah, because of the land swap deal where we we actually took back the land, the railway, Tanjong Pagar railway station, and all the whole railway line running in through Singapore from Malaysia, and in exchange we basically jointly developed 2 properties in Singapore with the Malaysian government, and Marina One Residences happened to be one of them. The other one actually is Duo Residences in Bugis, right? So that is a bit of the history. Now, Marina One has been around for a while. In fact, a while, right? It is not exactly a new launch because there were 2 towers. One tower was launched before the other, right? The other tower was the later tower, I think it's Block 23, was launched sometime around 2018, 2019, that period of time, right? So if you were to look at the pricing performance of Marina One Residences, right, you see that since 2015 till now, the price has been stagnating about in a range of $2,000 to $2,500 per square feet, okay, for most of the units here, right? It has not really gone up, even though today is already completed, already TOP has been obtained, but somehow it was not able to have a breakthrough, even though the last 2 to 3 years during the pandemic, a lot of resale properties in Singapore all went up in price, but Marina One didn't go up. All right, so that's something which you need to take note of. All right, okay. Now, regarding CBD area, a bit of context here. Okay, a bit of context here. 10 years ago, our government started to have the plan to rejuvenate the CBD area. Okay, and what did they do? Previously, CBD was dominated by all the commercial offices, okay, pure commercial offices. So a lot of, if you look at the master plan, a lot of blue color means commercial, totally 100% commercial. So since 10 years ago, what happened was the government wanted to progressively inject residential element into CBD area. Okay, so what we saw in the last 10 years, actually there were more and more residential properties, condominiums coming up in the CBD area. For example, what are they? Icon was the first one in Tanjong Pagar. Icon at Gopeng, right? That was about 20 years ago, right? And then progressively we have got the Cliff, One Shenton, Lumiere, Altes, Sky Suites at Anson, and blah blah blah, and all this, right? So For example, GE Tower and Keppel Tower used to be a full commercial office, and they were also converted into mixed use. That means up to 60% residential. Okay, even DBS Tower 1 and 2 was also sold to OUE. I think OUE and then converted into 2/3 of them actually became service apartment, which is where it is now. Okay, DBS Tower 1. UIC building was also redeveloped into V on Shenton, okay, into a mixed-use building with residential, okay, right? So 2019 came the CBD incentive scheme, which is to further incentivize those old, purely 100% commercial offices in the CBD area to be redeveloped. Okay, of course, there are certain incentive to do this by giving, government give them, intensification, increase the plot ratio and a bonus GFA and things like that. So to give the developers an incentive to redevelop old buildings in the CBD area into newer buildings, newer mixed-use building. So today, what we see today, we are seeing two new launches in the CBD area. The first one is New Port Residences. Now, New Port Residences actually is the redevelopment of the former Fuji Xerox Tower. And do you know that even 10 years ago, I've heard of this already. When I was doing property training, I started doing property training, started in 2014, almost 10 years ago. I've taught more than 3,600 students in the last 10 years, all right? I already knew that Fuji Xerox Tower is going to go and redevelop into a mixed-use building. I heard this 10 years ago, and now it's only happening now, right? New Port Residences, okay? So what I'm trying to say is that such transformation, such change, especially in a big area like CBD, Jurong Lake District, take many, many years to come by, all right? The other one which was recently launched is actually this new mixed-use condo called TMW Maxwell, right? TMW Maxwell. So how did it perform? Okay, it was launched in August this year. There were altogether 324 units, okay? 324 units. On launch weekend, guess what? How many units were sold? How many units were sold? Look at this newspaper report. Only 7 units were sold. Only 7 units were sold on launch weekend, right? On launch weekend. Now, this is rather shocking. Okay, at what kind of price? $3,300 PSF, okay? $3,300 PSF. Now, if you think that this is a poor performance, yes, indeed, it is a poor performance, okay? On launch weekend, only 7 units sold out of 300 over units. Extremely poor, all right? Imagine so many property agents trying to sell a new launch, TMW Maxwell. On launch weekend, only 7 units sold. What does all this actually tell you? What does all this tell you? All right, coming back to the JLD story. I use CBD, CBD, a lot of white sites, the history of CBD, how CBD residential properties have performed so far to give you a kind of indication or reference point to look at Jurong Lake District. Because what Jurong Lake District is going to go through is probably I feel will be quite similar to what our CBD area is going through, right? Now, if a place with so many white sites like CBD area, all right, the residential properties there, like Marina 1, which is a resale property, cannot sell. A new launch like TMW Maxwell cannot sell, okay? And we have got Jayden, which actually sold very well last weekend, 88% sold. I seriously think that it is not really because Jayden is fantastic or special or whatever, okay? It's really, I feel that a lot of buyers or investors buy into the hype, into the optimism, into the promise that JLD is going to transform massively. And as a result, they are going to, get a lot of capital appreciation. This is what I feel, okay? But you look at the properties in the CBD area, did that happen? We didn't see that. We didn't see that. And that goes to my next point, okay? My next point is about, a comparison. Trying to look for similar comparison in the JLD with Jayden. And of course, the closest comparison is actually J Gateway, okay, which was launched 10 years ago, J Gateway. So J Gateway, 738 units, right? In the last 10 years, we can see that how many units were sold? I mean, were transacted on the resale market, okay? Right? Okay, so you see there are 171 units sold, transacted, in the resale market in the last 10 years. Okay, 171, which is about 23%. Okay, fine. So this is not like a very high number or very low number, right? We don't know whether this is a high or low number. Let's put it aside first. But what I wanted to say is really about this thing, J Gateway. So 171 units sold in the last 10 years in the resale market. Is it because no sellers want to sell or no buyers want to buy? Or is it because both? Now, if we look at, let's say, Property Guru today, we do see that there are actually 28 sellers trying to sell their units, and of course at various prices, all right? And last weekend, we have got 300 buyers who went to buy J Gateway, all right, at a price of probably like, 2006, 2004, 2005, 2006 PSF around there, right? So if we look at Jayden, last weekend, 300 over buyers went to buy, my mistake, okay, Jayden, not J Gateway, right? If we look at Jayden, 60% of them are 1 and 2 bedrooms, 60% out of the 300 over units, okay, 60%. It tells me that this property, Jayden, actually is more suited for investors buying 1 and 2 bedrooms, not so much for own stay, okay? So all these facts do tell me that things like Jayden 1 and 2 bedroom, predominantly 60% 1 and 2 bedroom, they are for investors, right? Investors buying into this property, not so much for own stay. Plus the fact that we have got J Gateway, which is a resale property, very similar to Jayden, We have got 300 over buyers who bought Jayden last weekend, but they somehow overlooked J Gateway for some reason. I'm not sure why, right? I'm not sure why. Of course, the argument can be because J Gateway is a bit older. Because if someone buys into J Gateway now, it is a second mover already. The first mover who bought 10 years ago already make money today, and there were still 70% of these people still holding on to J Gateway. Yeah, I mean that can be a reason, but I seriously feel that if given the price of the entry price of Jayden at about $2,005 to $2,007 per square feet, could we actually see value in J Gateway, even though it is slightly older? Yes, even though that if you buy in now, you are one of the so-called minorities who are actually buying in at a higher price. Yes, okay. Could we see value there? Okay, so this is a difficult question to answer, but I feel that again, a lot of people are buying into Jayden because of the hype, the optimism, and the promise of the future transformation, right? And of course, this thing about from property agents, from developers saying that new launch always make money, don't buy resale. Okay, right? Now it leads me to my third point. And my third point is about the pricing. If you look at the last weekend, the 1 and 2 bedrooms, what were the prices sold at Jayden? It is about $2,005 to $2,008 per square feet. Okay, this range, 2.5 to 2.8. Now, even if you just look at this pricing alone and don't consider whatever I've mentioned earlier, right? If someone buys Jayden at $2,005 to $2,008 per square feet today, and hopefully maybe a few years down the road want to sell at $3,000 per square feet. Now you seriously have to think whether this kind of price can it be transacted in the resale market for Jayden a few years down the road. If Jayden a few years later can really resell at $3,000 per square feet, what does that mean? That means that your new launch or future new launch in Jurong Lake District must be above $3,000 per square feet. There's no way that a new launch is going to sell you at $3,000 and you have a resale at $3,000. Okay, you cannot find this kind of situation in Singapore. A new launch is always a price leader. It has to go above. So if Jayden a few years down the road can resell at $3,000 per square feet, it must mean that the new launch a few years later in Jurong Lake District must be selling above $3,000 per square feet. Above $3,000 per square feet. Now, if you think about it, is it possible to sell JLD to sell a new launch a few years down the road at above $3,000 per square feet? we have got an example in CBD, TMW Maxwell. TMW Maxwell trying to sell at $3,300 per square feet today, only 7 people buy. And that is despite the effort of hundreds of agents trying to market to investors and buyers, to buy TMW Maxwell. Only 7 sold. And that is today. $3,003 per square feet. Means what? Means the market cannot accept this kind of price. Of course, you may argue that, oh, maybe a few years later may change. But what is going to change? The only thing that may change is unless you tell me that the white sites in JLD in future are going to be sold at, I don't know, $1,008 per square feet, like this newspaper report in Shenton House, the recent one, And then as a result, the new launch in the future, JLD is going to be selling at $3,003, $3,005 per square feet. And then, your Jayden can resell at that point in time a few years later at $3,000 per square feet. And people still think that, oh, it's reasonable because the new launch there are already like $3,005 per square feet. Now, I seriously think that is a bit challenging. Honestly, it's a bit challenging, right? So that sort of summarizes, my thinking about the results achieved by Jayden over the last weekend. 88%, no doubt, is an impressive number. But as I said in my earlier video, you can check that out. I give you the link somewhere, up there, right? I seriously feel that, again, people, sometimes investors, buyers may be buying into the hype or the optimism. I'm not sure about that. I think that seems to me to be the case, right? About Jurong Lake District, because there's so much anticipation and so much positive story going for it. But I did mention in my last video about the future transformation fallacy, essentially, which is the promise of a place being transformed, but eventually fall short of expectation. And this is probably, I don't know, it may happen to JLD because the last launch that happened there was actually Lake Grand 7 years ago, and Lake Grand till today is the next launch 7 years. All right, so we do not know exactly. We know that, okay, JLD is going to transform in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Definitely, yes, it will change. But the question is, we need new launches to be sold at a higher price to push the price higher for Jayden. That's definitely the case. Okay, that's the case across the whole of Singapore, not just Jurong Lake District. So the question is really, in future, when are the white sites going to be sold? And again, the question of at what price. So this is something which is difficult to answer, but I think, judging from the performance of Jayden, 88% last weekend, it seems to be, a lot of people who bought in that project believe that there is going to be quite a bit of optimism over there, which I prefer to be a bit more conservative. Now, that's just my opinion, all right? So, that's the end of my sharing of what I feel about Jayden result last weekend. So if you feel that, this is something which you enjoy hearing and you think that my opinion sort of, resonate with what you think, do subscribe to my channel, click the like button, smash the share or whatever, so that more people can benefit from this. Till the next video, I'll catch you and take care. Bye-bye.